Pokemon Pokopia is a game that I don't think many expected to be a smash hit. I was on the fence about it until the last minute, pre-ordering more because it was a Pokemon game than because I thought I'd actually enjoy it. The first 3 or 4 hours seemed to prove my initial hesitation valid. It was fun, but it felt very monotonous and boring. And then it just clicked, and I was suddenly addicted. A game I expected to play for 5 hours and then drop ended up being a game that I have spent nearly 100 hours in so far and am not done with. On paper, it looks like a game that should bore me after the initial impression fades. A life management sim construction game. It's almost a perfect blend of Dragon Quest Builders and Animal Crossing New Horizons, even going so far as reusing some of New Horizons sound effects, and I didn't think that would appeal to me, but it really did. The premise of Pokopia is actually pretty cool. There's been a climatological catastrophe that has rendered the planet unfit for human habitation. You, a Ditto, awaken unsure of where you are or what has happened. All you have are vague memories of your trainer. You meet a very well-read Tangrowth, seemingly the only other Pokemon anywhere around, who convinces you to try rebuilding the town in hopes that it will draw humans and other Pokemon back. And that becomes your overarching goal. There are 4 main areas, each with a unique biome and vibe that you'll need to rebuild. The field area in which you initially awaken, a beach area, a mountain area, and a city area. A city that's floating high above the clouds for some reason. I stopped questioning Pokemon logic when they introduced baby Pokemon. There is also a 5th area, which is intended to be for post-game content, but is actually accessible from the very start if you want to skip straight there. It's basically a completely blank slate, with nothing but a Pokemon Center and a workbench for you to build up as you please. There are Pokemon that only appear here, so if you're going for a full Pokedex, you'll need to build up this area, but it's basically your canvas to develop in any way that your creativity whims dictate. Pokopia is only available on Switch 2. This isn't a cross-gen release with versions for both Switch and Switch 2. And while GameFreak may technically have gotten it to run on Switch if they'd really tried, seeing how Legends ZA and Scarlet and Violet run on Switch, and how Pokopia runs on Switch 2, I doubt it would be at any acceptable level of performance. To be clear, Pokopia runs very well on Switch 2. There are only a few places where I noticed any slowdown, and that was mostly during transitions or when there's a lot going on at once, both rare occurrences. If there's any slowdown on Switch 2, however, I have my doubts about how well the original Switch could have handled it. And that's probably the main reason, in addition to pushing the new system's install base, that Nintendo chose not to pursue a Switch version. I think that was a proper decision. What I think was a very improper decision was that to make a physical release of this a game key card. I've accepted these abominations as the new normal for third-party releases, but prior to the announcement of this game, Nintendo had always said, and thus far abided by, that first-party titles would not use game keycards. Despite that, Pokopia breaks this and is a game keycard. It's not the end of the world, and all digital experience is inevitable, so even game keycards just postpone the inevitable a little bit, but it does feel a bit like a betrayal of the players who like physical games, and Nintendo has a much larger share of them than either PlayStation or Xbox, by far. So, having gotten the nastiness of the game keycard issue out of the way, let's take a look at the game's sound and visual design. The game, while not stunningly gorgeous in any way, does look great. It takes the cartoonier look that Dragon Quest Builders and Animal Crossing have always had, and that makes it fit in visually very well with the modern HD Pokemon games. The Pokemon models look great, and most importantly, the environments look great. This is especially true of the water. It's certainly not photorealistic water with accurate ripple and mist animations, but it looks great within the confines of the game's art style, and there is a sort of mist effect at the bottom of waterfalls. There were a few decorations that I felt should have had better looking models, but all in all, I've been very pleased with the look of the game. I've also been quite pleased with the sound design. Background music is pleasant but unobtrusive, and sound effects are spot on, from the Pokemon cries to the splat that Ditto makes if you jump from too high a place and land hard. But don't worry, there's no falling damage in this game. Throughout the game, you'll find CDs as rare treasures. These can be used with one of the few CD player decorations that you'll encounter throughout the game, to play music from the main game series, spanning all the way from the original releases of Red and Green on Game Boy to Scarlet and Violet on Switch. I don't usually end up using them outside of one or two especially iconic tracks, but I love that they were included as collectible items. The thing that will make or break for people with Pokopia is patience and willingness to endure tedium. If you've played Minecraft or Dragon Quest Builders, you know exactly what I mean. I have spent dozens of hours clearing out mountains to build cave homes, flattening mountaintops to build villages, and building structures one block at a time. And that's before you consider the even more hours I spent decorating those buildings to suit a Pokemon's taste. How happy your Pokemon are in a given area determines its environment rank, and for progression, you'll need to get every area to at least rank 5, but each area has a maximum environment rank of 10. Every rank you advance opens new challenges that can be completed for life coins, used at the PC to buy rare items and unlock new recipes. I had every area at rank 10 before I even finished that area's main missions, but I was also a bit obsessive-compulsive with making my Pokemon as happy as possible. If anybody was below Awesome, which is the highest level, I wasn't happy. Well, that was at least true until I hit rank 10. After that, I don't care if they live in squalor and misery. I finished the main story in Pokopia and rolled the credits Thursday night. But here I am on Wednesday, nearly a week later, still chugging away, reshaping the landscape, building up my settlement, and completely over-engineering an utterly unnecessary and over-the-top railroad system connecting the various parts of the map. This is the kind of game that most will probably get their fill of and then never touch again, and I'm no exception to that. But while I am getting my fill and scratching that creativity itch, I am having a significantly better time than I expected to. This is one surprise hit I can definitely recommend to anyone who enjoys creative or construction games, regardless of attachment to the Pokemon IP. My rating for Pokemon Pokopia on Switch 2 is an A.